The Egyptian military is building up a massive military presence in the Sinai Peninsula, right on Israel's doorstep. Well, Israel's new ambassador to the United States says the escalation is, quote, not tolerable. Well, Dr. Nir Boms, research fellow at the Moshe Dayan Center in Tel Aviv University, joins us now. Shalom, Nir.
Shalom, good to see you.
Well, buddy, does this military escalation violate the peace agreement between your two countries?
Well, yes, and this is also not a new issue. There are 22,000 Egyptian soldiers that should be in the western part of the Sinai. The estimates that there are at least four times the number. Tanks that should not be there. And again, this is not a new issue, but the bringing of additional forces and building up of the force is a new issue. Israel had allowed additional activity of Egyptian security forces in the Sinai, mainly because of what we've seen at the end on October 7th. We wanted to help the Egyptians prevent it. I don't think we can argue that they've done a fine job at it. But Israel allowed the Egyptians to do some of this work and allowed to have additional Egyptian forces, but not to a scale that potentially can be seen as a preparation for aggression.
Yeah, I think that's the alarming part that I'm seeing online is that a lot of people are saying, "Hey, look, this looks very not offensive in like a you hurt my feelings way, but offensive in the sense that this doesn't look defensive." So, in your opinion, what do you think Israel's response will be?
Well, I think it's going to be measured. I don't think that we believe that the Egyptians are about to attack. The Egyptians are deeply involved in the situation in Gaza, which is relates to the situation in Sinai, which relates to the humanitarian dimension. The Egyptians are very connected to, by the agreement, to the American orbit. They're not going to risk all of that just to create an escalation of a different scale. So I think it's going to be probably dealt with, and some of the statements that we hear are the vehicle to say, look, enough, you have went too far. It doesn't mean we are sorting all the problems. And you can also ask the question of why Egypt feels so compelled to constantly prepare for war. But it's perhaps another incentive for all of us to find better solutions for the conflicts in the Middle East, so that these incentives to constantly prepare for war may be less relevant in the future.
Well, that's a great last question. I mean, not to ask you to read people's minds, but why do you think they're doing this?
I think the Egyptians would like to say to their people that they're ready. The recent discussions, including about the president's plan to remove Palestinians to Sinai and to Egypt, these statements were not taken favorably in Cairo. And I think part of what we're doing now is a projection of strength. After all this is said and done, we need to find more realistic solutions that are going to be accepted by the partners in the region. And when we get there, I think we'll be able to see more pragmatic policies on all sides.
Well, Nir, you're one of the busiest people I know. You're a friend, and I have to ask you one final question, just because I have you. Everyone's talking about phase 2 of the hostage deal. Do you see it happening? Do you see this thing going forward? What is your viewpoint on the phase 2 of the hostage deal?
With your permission, I'll try to give you a broader answer to this question. Phase 2 is supposed to happen. It's a part of the agreement. I think there are many in Israel who hope that this will happen because there's still hostages in Gaza, and we would like to get them all out. At the same token, we have seen, and that certainly became more apparent following the coming of the president and the statements that come from the first and the second week, that it's clear that the objective of getting Hamas out of Gaza is getting a very significant backing. And in that sense, Hamas is probably saying, well, look, if you're all trying to make sure that we're not going to be there in the day after, and we are trying to get a way to stay, then we're not sure exactly how we're going to cooperate. So far, Hamas seems to be curtailed and pushed to continue with the path. But because it's clear that at some point there is really a clash of interests. Then there is a question of what may the future be. But I want to ask or to answer potentially an even broader question. The issue of phase two of the deal, whether it will happen now or later or in a different font, is not the most important question. We're now dealing with a whole sets of ideas for day after. And these ideas of day after are not necessarily providing a real needed solution for the broader problem. I mean, we're looking at now at what's beginning to come up from the meetings of the Arab stakeholders. And they speak about a certain mechanism and an investment and a $20 billion that may come to rebuild and resurrect Gaza. And if you're really zooming out from all of this, then basically what they're saying is, look, we're not sure that we can live with this ideas that are coming from the United States. So perhaps we're just going to put a lot of money and build some temporary houses so the refugees who already their houses were ransacked will evacuate them. We're going to put the tent, we're going to put a temporary home. And now we're going to spend 10 or 15 more years to build temporary refugee camps that afterwards, after all said and done, will still be in need for a solution, because what we've done is created another temporary situation that probably may end up being translated to another type of escalation, maybe 10 or 15 years down the road. What we need to do here is actually think deeper and use this moment in time to think about real deeper solutions. You're not constantly moving from phase A to phase B to phase C, because broadly speaking, none of this is getting close to actually sorting the root causes of what we've seen after October 7th.
Nir Boms, my friend, toda rabah. Thank you for your insight.
Good to be here.